Why don't we go ahead and start? We do have a quorum. I'm not sure Tom's going to be here. So, are you ready? I'm ready. All right.
Recording
Good evening,
in progress.
everyone. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Trinidad Planning Commission for Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. We do have a quorum here with three commissioners here, so we'll begin. And we'll begin with the roll call.
Commissioner Slate.
I'm here.
Commissioner Holt.
Present.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
And Commissioner Hopkins and Commissioner Heikkinen are absent.
We do know that Commissioner Heikkinen is not going to be here. We're still waiting for Commissioner Hopkins. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have two sets of minutes for approval this evening. The first is May 15th, 2024. The second is August 21st, 2024. Maybe we should take them separately and go and have any discussions on each one individually and come back and make a motion on both of them together. With respect to the May 15th minutes, any questions from the commissioners, clarifications?
I have no concerns about the minutes themselves, but I'm wondering, as far as protocol goes, I'm expected to choose myself, even though I stepped out for the recusal at the meeting.
Well, you were here for them.
I was here most of it.
Most of it.
My understanding that even if you recuse yourself for part of the meeting, you can still approve the minutes.
Okay, I mean,
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
That's the case, and indeed I have no problems with them.
I just had, again, not a question necessarily on the minutes, but I did wanted to know just for the public the current status of the Vero fiber network installation.
The last I saw, there were still some comments the city engineer had on their encroachment permits on their plan, so they're doing some revisions on their plan. In terms of overall, though, they're starting work on the coastal section, starting at 299 and heading up north on 101. They're starting in the next couple weeks.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions on that set? Okay, moving on then to the minutes from August 21st. Any questions, clarifications, comments? Any questions, clarifications, comments requested from the public? All right, hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve both sets of minutes?
I will move to approve both sets of minutes.
I'll second. Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And so approved.
Just real quick before you move on from the minutes, you might notice the May is in a slightly different format in terms of how the comments are written. Gabe did the May minutes, and so that's more consistent with the city council minutes. If anybody has a strong preference, I'd be interested to know.
My preference would be whatever minimizes your workload or whatever is workload. Still maintains the accuracy of the minutes.
Would agree with that. Okay. All right, next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. We have three items for public hearing, discussion, decision, and action tonight. Any questions or issues with the agenda? None. Do I hear approval for agenda? Motion?
I move to approve the agenda as printed. And I'll second it.
Okay, moved in second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Approval of the agenda. Next item is items from the floor. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience, both physically here and online, to make comments or bring up issues to the commission, bearing in mind that any discussion should be on any item that is not on the agenda this evening. Any items from the floor, from the public? Okay, hearing none.
Yeah. Hello, this is, I'm not sure if you saw, I have my hand up on the Zoom. My name is Tim Seward. I'm legal counsel are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm legal counsel for the Sherry Heights Indian community, the Trinidad Rancheria. And I wanted to at least let the Planning Commission know that the Trinidad Rancheria is requesting that the city engage the Trinidad Rancheria in government-to-government consultation regarding agenda items 1 through 3. I recognize that those are items to be heard today, but I wanted to make the statement early so that you were aware of it. The Trinidad Rancheria is a federally recognized tribe, as the commission may be well aware, located with trust lands located adjacent to and within the boundary of the city of Trinidad. All 3 of these items appear to involve city activities related to a parcel known as the Shirai Study Area, which is recognized as a tribal cultural resource. And item 2 actually states the proposal that the proposal to extend the temporary closure of the Van Wyck Trail to allow the city council to engage in consultation with the Yurok tribe and the Shirai Ancestral Society regarding the impacts to the impacts of the trail to cultural resources. The Trinidad Rancheria has formally requested consultation with the city, and the Trinidad Rancheria is recognized as a California Native American tribe traditionally and culturally affiliated with lands in and around the city of Trinidad, including the Shirai Study Area. And the city's tribal consultation plan policy states that the city shall engage in consultation with all Native American tribes that are traditionally and culturally affiliated with the tribal cultural resources that may be affected by proposed or anticipated actions or activities of the city. And it also states that the city will seek to identify tribes that may be affected by the city-sponsored activities proposed or anticipated by the city and consult with potentially affected tribes at a time early in the process that allows reasonable opportunity for the tribe to comment and participate. To date, the city has not engaged the Trinidad Rancheria in consultation regarding any of these proposed activities, while it at least plans to engage the Yurok tribe and the Shirai Ancestral Society regarding the Van Wyck Trail, item number 2, regarding potential alternative access. And I brought this up now because I wanted to make the commission aware of the issue without having to go through that statement 3 times. So I appreciate your accommodation to allow me to provide that regarding these items. And there will be some questions that I may regarding those items as by the commission, but I wanted to at least make the commission aware of the overriding the more comprehensive issue.
Thank you. Is it Mr. Stewart?
Seward, S-E-W-A-R-D.
Your name is just off the screen, so I couldn't quite see it.
I'm sorry.
No problem. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other items from the floor for public comment? All right, hearing none. We'll move on then to our regular agenda. Maybe for the public record, maybe we could just quickly review, and if it's okay with the commissioners, quickly review the policy related to consultation. Which policy is that I'm drawing?
I don't have, so the city did adopt some consultation guidelines. Those are primarily focused on formal consultations in terms of SB 18 and 852. One requires consultation on general plan updates, and the other requires consultation on CEQA documents. So that wouldn't apply to these situations. There is policy 69 that requires the rancheria, among other entities, approval for ground disturbance, vegetation removal, any proposed uses within the Churai study area. Neither 1 or 2 are within the Churai study area. One is not adjacent to either, although it is adjacent to rancheria property. Policy 69 would not. So in terms of I'm not aware of any legal requirements for consultation on any of these. Certainly the city could still respond to the request and or with consultation. That would be the city.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify for everyone, exactly where we stand with the consultation. And obviously, whatever we do tonight, as far as I recall, for each of these items can be appealed to the city council.
That's correct. And number 3, you're not taking any action. It's just
True. Thank you. So I just want to clarify where we're at with respect to our ability to move forward this evening. Okay. First item on our agenda this evening is the Daniels after the fact coastal development permit for placement of a dry stack block wall. Steph?
This is a pretty simple project. It really just consists of, those sort of landscaping concrete blocks placed along the slope contour, along the top edge of the top of the bluff on this property. But because that's a sensitive location, being within 50 feet of a bluff on the face of a bluff in an unstable area, it does require a coastal development permit. The work has already occurred. It occurred in 2021. The city was alerted to work occurring, and city staff went out and visited the site. Coastal Commission staff were also alerted, and it was determined that a coastal development permit was required. It doesn't require design review. It could be argued that maybe that a grading permit's required because grading within 50 feet of a bluff or in an unstable area requires a permit, but we don't normally consider it. This really was a very limited soil disturbance in terms of placing these blocks along the existing contour. So it's not any more soil disturbance than like putting a plant in the ground. We don't normally do that for grading. So it's just a coastal development permit. As you probably know, we don't have specific findings just for coastal development permits. So we just kind of look at overall consistency with the LCP. It took a bit of time to get a complete application in there. Various reasons for delays, but we have the application now. including a geologic report. So a geologist did go out and take a look at the wall, took a look at the site, and recommended that the wall remain in place. And that some drainage improvements be implemented so that stormwater isn't concentrated and directed over the bluff. So that has already been done as well. I did send out referrals for the project. City engineer just recognized the geologist recommendations and also recommended that we get some photos from the applicant just for the file and record so we know what the existing conditions are. So that's been included as a condition of approval. And I talked to Coastal Commission staff. They, after seeing the geologist report and the site plan, they had no further concerns. It is in a culturally sensitive area, but no additional work is proposed as part of this permit, so everything is already done. It was pretty minimal soil disturbance. So there aren't a specific set of findings for you to approve. You know, the project is not visible from the street. It is visible from the bay. It's not visible from Launcher Beach, but it's a concrete block wall. It's got vegetation growing over it at this point. So it doesn't present any significant visual changes. It's not affecting parking, heights, setbacks, any of those kind of things. I did look at the regulations for development on slopes and bluffs, and you can have fences and erosion control structures in bluffs, so it is consistent with those requirements. And so the project can be found to be consistent with Trinidad's LCP and other applicable regulations, so staff is recommending.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commissioners to staff?
I just wanted to clarify that, I mean, so reading through it, it sounded like one of the contributing factors was stormwater that was running down a sidewalk and then being dumped onto where the tree had fallen over. And I wanted to clarify that stormwater issue has been, I guess, or that stormwater has been dispersed, so that way it's not concentrated.
That is my understanding. I believe the applicant is on the Zoom call and could maybe provide some additional clarification.
Hi, this is Dave Michael. Yes, I can. Basically, it wasn't from the sidewalk. I don't know. Gary may have, the geologist that I hired, may have made some reference to that. But there was actually, with the prior owner, they had put downspouts that were going down there. We could not see that it was buried. They have been terminated and taken to the other side of the property, but the lines were running under the deck and we could not see them. So that is what's been terminated, and from what we can tell, was the main issue. As far as until we had that day that somebody had made a call, we didn't understand that we needed a permit. We thought it was more under the landscaping side, and I did talk to Gabe prior to buying the property. And then upon knowing that, the same day that we got flagged for concern, I actually went up to see Gabe, and then he made a recommendation. And I believe that's when, I believe it was Ross, the mayor, and Trevor came out to the property the first time. So anyway, other than that, we've just been doing, we need to comply, hire the geologists, and provide plot plans and things necessary to get to this point, and also acquire the permit to make sure that we're complying.
Gotcha. Yeah, thank you for clarifying the water runoff situation and the backstory. Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions, comments?
I have a question for Trevor. We somewhat recently revisited after the fact were they CDP guidelines or was it?
Just for any planning, permit, and I probably should have included those policies, just as an attachment. Really, basically it's that you process the permits as if they hadn't occurred. The applicant's still responsible for providing any studies, any follow-up remediation that's needed. And then the policy is to double the permit fees for that.
We're consistent with those.
Yes.
Okay. And there is no remediation of any kind required.
No, nothing additional was recommended by the geologist, and so I think that's we're going with that professional recommendation.
All right. Okay.
I didn't really have any comments except for what has already been discussed, but I would maybe just like to, I wonder if it makes any sense to put together some sort of letter or information sheet to distribute to property owners in the city. This is the third after the fact CDP that we've seen in probably 8 months or so. And it just seems like maybe there might be some misunderstanding or lack of understanding as to what is required and what you can do, not do without a CDP. And I don't know, just as a suggestion, maybe it would be worthwhile to put together something that just said, hey, no matter what you're doing, think about it. And then if you have any questions, please get to City Hall and try to resolve it. It just seems like, while it doesn't necessarily cause any more effort on staff's part because you're doing it basically as a brand new CDP, it is somewhat problematic for property owners and maybe to a slight extent for staff. It would be useful to have something, but that's just a suggestion of approval or anything like that. Okay, any other questions or comments from commissioners? I'll open it up to the public for any public comment. Okay, hearing none, I'll bring it back. Any further discussion?
I will say that I guess I want to recognize that, in most, well, sort of to your, I guess, letter, your suggestion of sending out a letter to the city's residents. I mean, this project in most parts of the city would be totally allowable, right? It's just because they're on the or close to the bluff edge. And I think, that's definitely like an intricacy of our of the coastal act, right? That requires permits for any ground storm that's near or on the bluff. It sounds like maybe the applicant got mixed reviews from city staff. I mean, that's certainly written in the staff report, I guess. I don't know if we want to entertain not doubling the permit fee for this permit due to that, or sort of how well founded those mixed reviews were. I guess, yeah. How well founded those mixed comments that the applicant got from city staff are as to whether or not they did or did not need a permit.
Where are you referring, just so I can track with you?
Give me a second. Let's see, page 2 of 6, staff comments. At the end of the first line, or excuse me, third line down, the building official determined that, I guess maybe I misread it. Building official determined that no building permit was necessary. All right, sorry, I guess I did misread that. I guess I misread that to think that they've been told that they didn't need a permit. But
yeah, I think
sorry.
it's my understanding this is consistent with our precedent that we set for dealing with after the fact CDP. So I see no reason to change at this point.
Yeah, because the work had started and recurred when the building official did go out there and said no permit was necessary. And but we have run into that situation in the past, you know, with the steps of the lighthouse. I can't remember the order of operations there. With that one, they might have been told they don't need a building permit even before they started work, but then no one asked me. I did reach out to the building official to provide some guidance on where things require coastal development permit. So he's more aware and can refer people to me, even if he tells them they don't need a building permit.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, do I hear a motion? I'll do it. Based on application materials, information, and findings included in the staff report, and based on public testimony, I find that the project is consistent with the Trinidad LCP and other applicable regulations, and I move to adopt the information and findings in the staff report and approve the project as described in the staff report and as conditioned therein.
I'll second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michael.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is extension of the temporary closure of the Bandwood Trail. Yeah. Yes.
I'm so looking forward to this.
Okay.
I will say that I really expect this to be the last extension for a temporary closure on the trail. I think that the city council has appointed 2 members to meet with the Yurok tribe and the Ancestral Society. The reason it was with those 2 entities is because those are the 2 entities that have expressed objection to the trail. The Rancheria has not. But the Rancheria did request consultation on the vegetation removal on the Axel Lindgren Trail. So I believe that will be on the next council agenda. So they could add, Van Wyck to that government to government discussion. It's really, I think the insurance agent will be here tomorrow to take a look at some of these trails and I think the school as well. But, the conditions haven't changed in terms of that trail is not insured. So the city doesn't have any liability coverage should someone hurt themselves on that trail. So it's important to keep it closed. It's not in the tri-state area. It's not in an area that's subject to policy 69. But as you know, there have been objections to repairs and having the trail at all. So, I think the city council really needs to have those government to government consultations so that they can understand the concerns and make an informed decision whether to move forward with a simple repair. I mean, a repair of that would be pretty simple in terms of just putting wood steps with rebar holding them to go up and down the dip. So that would be pretty straightforward. But I think that consultation needs to occur, and then the city council needs to decide whether they're gonna move forward with repairs or permanently close the trail. So like I said, I expect this to be the last temporary. And But this was, in terms of the permit and the process tonight, the planning commission in March did narrowly approve a 6-month temporary closure of the trail. You know, we have been continuing to meet with Coastal Commission staff monthly. They seem to recognize, you know, the thing that the city is making progress and that these things take time. You know, they were big advocates for improvements to Edward Street, which the city is currently implementing, to mitigate that closure, but also, you know, to make people safer on Edward Street as well. So the Planning Commission approved the temporary closure, a CDP in March. That expires October 22nd, I think it is. The approval did include a condition that will expire in 6 months unless an extension is granted by the Planning Commission based on the need for more time to obtain funding and or further explore repair and access alternatives. If the Planning Commission finds that substantial progress has been made in the interim time. So, you know, we have met several times with the Ancestral Society and the management team to discuss repair options. We met with upslope property owners to look at moving it upslope. You know, I'd say at this point we have exhausted those, and so it comes down to the repair or close. So, so in order to allow that to occur, city staff was recommending extension of the closure for another 6 months.
Thank you. Questions for staff from the commissioners?
I guess there's definitely a lot of talk in, or I guess in this report, right, there's a lot of, and previous reports, there's a lot of discussion about what we think the Coastal Commission staff / Coastal Commission thinks or wants or whatever they're thinking. I guess in my opinion, I don't want that, whatever they're thinking, who people who don't live here or they live here, they don't come to these meetings. Like, I don't want that to impact the way that we're thinking about these projects, because if they think a certain way, then, you know, decisions can be elevated to the Coastal Commission, and then they can actually have their turn to speak. But I don't really want them. I mean, I understand that they're considering these things, but I don't really think we should be considering their hypothetical opinions about projects. So I guess I just wanted to put that out there. And with regard to I guess basically what it boils down to is the trail's currently closed because it's uninsurable. And it's not currently closed because TAS and the Yurok tribe want it closed. I mean, am I correct on that opinion or that statement, I guess?
I mean, I would say that is the primary reason that the city closed the trail in the first place. Part of the reason that it hasn't been repaired yet is because of the objections.
Okay, I guess so. In that light, I mean, I don't like the sort of hypothetical threat of somebody suing the city over tripping on the trail, hurting themselves. Like, I don't like that running our government either. I mean, on the flip side, the city's kept the trail closed since 2020, when it technically should have been legal, which also exposes the city to legal liability should somebody choose to sue the city over keeping the trail closed. So I guess it seems a little bit disingenuous of the city to say, well, we don't want this light legal exposure here, but we'll tolerate some other legal exposure there. Especially when one of those is clearly benefits the community, which would be having the trail open. And like only doesn't benefit somebody who gets hurt on the trail, which hypothetically may or may not happen. I understand Trevor's opening point regarding sort of where this process is heading and decisions that are going to need to be made in the next 6 months, hopefully. And I guess currently where I'm at is I think I could vote to extend the closure, but I would want to condition it upon the fact that the city continues to maintain the trail more so than they have been doing since it's been closed during the closure. And I guess to that end, I say that just because the trail is closed doesn't mean the city can't maintain it. So that would mean, weed whacking the grass that's approaching on the trail and minor improvements to the trail as needed should something arise this winter. So I would want to condition it upon that. Because I don't want to just see this trail continue to slip away while we're thinking about what to do with it.
Any other comments?
So unlike our most recent discussion of trail closures, this is not a new application. This is in fact an extension of the existing application.
Yes, so this would be an extension. So all planning commission actions are appealable to the city council, but this is not a new CDP that would be appealable to the coastal commission.
I guess I did have a question on that too. So does that mean like any extension is not appealable? I mean, can't you just appeal whatever you want?
I am not 100% clear, and I know, but I mean, and I had this question for coastal commission staff because the first time, so this condition we originally had on the Axel Lindgren trail closure. And the first time we extended it, I sent notices and I sent out a notice of action to the coastal commission. They said, oh no, this isn't a new permit. It's not appealable to us. And then I started asking the question, well, what if we start extending it indefinitely? And I didn't get a clear answer. So part of it is the way the condition's worded. And I guess I potentially could have worded it so that it could have been done on a staff level. I guess that's what they do more at the coastal commission. But I'll give you that responsibility. So part of it is the way the condition's worded. And I imagine that if the city just kept doing extension after extension out, then the coastal commission enforcement unit would probably step
I don't have any additional questions for staff. I found myself falling into this trap the last time we had a discussion about trails, which is the often incorrect assumption that there's nefarious intent somewhere, right? And I believe, based on conversations we've had repeatedly, that there doesn't seem to be any of that here, right? Like, the more conversations we have with more of the involved entities, the great appreciation I have for, of course, the complexities, but the fact that nobody is really truly operating nefariously. I think that there's a lot of fear in town of permanent closure. I wouldn't be surprised if there's also quite a bit of fear of that site being much more developed as it was maybe intended to be several years ago. So I sort of understand it to be an interpretation of the various intents on either side. And I think that's the way that we combat those assumptions is by having, open conversations about what each party wants. And of course, we are not subject in this commission to those conversations. And so, unsurprisingly, we find ourselves in this position where we are trying to make a decision with an incomplete set of facts, without details of what each party truly wants. And that makes it really hard. It makes it easier to rely on the assumption, the often false assumption that there's something nefarious happening. I don't think has ever really truly been the case. That's my rambling way of saying, I feel like we don't have all the necessary information. So not surprising, it's not a novel idea, but it's stated for the first time in this meeting today.
Good one. Yes. Yeah, I guess my initial reaction to this was to do what we did with the Axel Lindgren Memorial Trail, which was to outright reject CP and so to speak, push it on to the city council for them to take. Hopefully with that action, there was a little bit of activity, I believe, and I think everyone was working very hard. All parties seem to be working hard to move forward with that one. But I kind of agree with you, Chris, and this is a little bit different, slightly different. And I do appreciate the comments that Mr. Seward made earlier. And I do know, and I don't recall exactly when or where, but I do know that the Rancheria has requested consultation, government to government consultation on this and several other issues, as I recall. And that if that hasn't happened, I think it's only fair that that request follow through with and give all parties an opportunity to work out, hopefully in the next 6 months. We're going to trust staff to say this is the last time we're going to look at this. Yeah, okay. It's very frustrating for me because, the public continues to raise the issue that, yes, the city has closed the trail formally, and yet the trail is still used. And that brings up issues in and of itself, which are crazy. And yet, we are 5 years into this and still don't have a solution. And I really, really appreciate the public's frustration with this whole process. It's just unconscionable. However, I do understand that there are a lot of entities that are involved in this, and sometimes these things take a great deal of time to work out. As I said, I was reluctant to approve any further extension, but given the circumstances and the hopefully the commitment from City Council and the other entities involved to try to reach a solution within the next 6 months, I'm willing to grant this extension. Any further items before we go to the public?
I just wanted to clarify a bit. I guess this is due to my lack of unfamiliarity with the government-to-government consultation process. But as I recall, during the council meeting we attended because they were reviewing, they were in fact reviewing the appeal of our decision to not to extend lease closures. At that meeting, the Rancheria requested a government-to-government meeting. So we're talking about 6 weeks ago, well, 2 months ago, right? And as we continue to be curious about timelines and concerned about timelines, I'm just sort of curious, maybe Eli can chime in here, but to what extent have we has the city attempted to schedule those meetings? Has there been tangible progress towards gaining more insights from all the parties involved?
It is going to be on the agenda on the 24th to have a G2G with the Rancheria. Other than their comment at the meeting, I got the impression they were going to formally send a request. We never received that, but we're still going to put it on the agenda since they have requested it. And then as far as the other one, we're in a matter of trying to get the parties together, meaning the two council members in the UROC council, and then also the Chura Ancestral Society, individually, to get the schedules together so we could have those meetings.
And Eli, just for the record, who are the two city council members that have been assigned to the G?
Yeah, the one with the Huron tribe and the Chura Ancestral Society, it's Steve Ladwick and Jack West.
I acknowledge that syncing up schedules is difficult. That's been, remind me of the date of that meeting, or remind me of the date where those individuals were appointed. It's been 6 weeks plus.
I believe it was in the August meeting, but I'd have to check.
And at least a month, yeah. And I agree with you, your frustration there, Chris.
And yeah, I'm not necessarily saying that it's frustration. It's just, I worry that time slips away, as it tends to do. And maybe this process of scheduling a meeting takes 5.5 more months. And then we find ourselves, in this exact same position. And Trevor may not be here, it sounds like, if that happens. But it's possible. So that's my concern, is there's no guarantee that anything happens in the next 6 months.
And I guess I resonate with that. And I guess my only other comment would be that the public has raised a lot of issues, and justifiably so. I think the public needs to go to the city council meetings and make their feelings very, very clear, and to put the pressure on the city council. We unfortunately can't do much other than just extend the CDP. And the public needs to raise this as a very, very important issue to the city council, and hold the city council responsible for moving forward with this and making certain that it happens. So, yeah, it is frustrating. It really is. And that's why I was laughing when we said 6 months from here. Now, this will be the last one. I bet a quarter and one, not the other. Any other comments, questions for staff? All right, at this point, I'll open up to the public for public comment. I request that the public keep their comments to 3 minutes unless you feel that you need more. We can discuss that. And public comment.
Bryce Canning, 462 Ocean Avenue. This is not my first rodeo when it comes to this issue, and unsurprisingly, I'm still very much in favor of keeping the Van Wyck Trail open. And I think probably the best reason for that is included in your package at page 36, beginning of the staff report, where it talks about that this that closure that is being asked for will expire after 6 months, et cetera. But it could be extended if the Planning Commission finds that substantial progress has been made in the interim time period. Shouldn't you be considering that tonight? Because the 6 months extension is being requested, And I would like somebody to identify for me in concrete terms what has been accomplished, aside from just more posturing and the same delay, circular arguments. It's just what you need to do is the same thing you did with the Axel Langer Memorial Trail, where you courageously refused to grant another extension and said, enough is enough. This is getting ridiculous. And this trail has been closed for 5 years. It's being subjected to the death of 1,000 cuts. Anybody who thinks that this is just going to be another 6 months closure, I mean, that's like saying you believe in Santa Claus or something. The Van Wyck Trail is not part of the Churai study area. Therefore, the Churai management team should not be talking about it. It's outside the charge of what the city council assigned to do to advise them about, number one. Number two, the foot traffic does not exacerbate the erosion issue. It's things like the 2 giant concrete blocks that have been sitting down there for 10 years or so that, you know, could have been removed, should have been removed immediately when they were placed there. All that extra weight on the trail is pushing it down the hill. And those are the kind of things that, you know, are being completely ignored. You know, there's no doubt that the Native American people were treated very badly historically here and all over this country, but 2 wrongs don't make a right. And it's wrong to punish the people that are here now and use the trail for something they had nothing to do with and have no way to redress. And if, you know, the city could just do some basic, simple pick and shovel repairs, if the insurance company sign off, reopen the trail. If any cultural objects are discovered during that process, they can be preserved and reburied, as is done customarily everywhere when there's projects that might impact cultural resources. But if cultural resources are something other than objects, if the whole existence of the city of Trinidad is an affront to cultural resources, then that concept is being very badly abused. And we need to move away from that direction as soon as possible. And one final thing, if you do approve this request, if there's any cultural monitor reports that get done in conjunction with anything, they should be, it should be understood that a copy will be provided to the city where they can be kept as documents that are not subject to the Public Records Act. Therefore, if any cultural resources are identified therein, they will be confidential and the secrecy can be preserved. On the other hand, if there are no cultural resources identified, that fact should be available to the public. So I'm asking you to deny the extension just as you did with the Axel Langer Memorial Trail.
Bryce? Further public discussion?
It's off the screen, but Tim has his hand.
Mr. Seward?
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you very much. And I appreciate the comments of the chairman and Commissioner Stay in support of providing the equal consultation, government consultation with the Trinidad Rancheria. That's much appreciated. I also appreciate the background that the city planner provided. That was helpful. So it's my understanding that if this goes forward with the extension, that the Trinidad Rancheria will be consulted in a manner that's equal to the Yurok tribe and TAS. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Right, I'll bring it back to the commission for any other discussion or suggestions. So I certainly appreciate Mr. Kinney's comments, and like I said, when I started tonight, I really felt like maybe the first thing we should do is just reject this. I said that earlier, just re-emphasizing it, but I'm wondering, I don't know, I'm spitballing here, guys, but I was wondering, what if we just said we're only going to approve it for 3 months? Say that's it, after 3 months. Is that a viable solution? Does it do anything for us?
I don't really think that does anything for us.
No squeals delight.
Okay, I think we would just come back in 3 months and it would be a very
I think you're probably
similar
right.
conversation.
I think you're probably right. I'm just looking for something. I'm just trying to get off top dead center, you know, any way that we possibly can. This is just difficult. Did I see you write down something for another condition?
No, I mean, I was gonna suggest you could remove the condition allowing the extension. I mean, that's one thing. And then if it comes.
That's what I was, you're talking about subparagraph 1.
Yes.
Yes.
And then Tristan mentioned adding a condition about continuing to maintain.
That's what I was looking for, yeah.
I do not have the wording of that. You know, the water line project is probably about to move forward, so there will be some work over there. So it might be something about, you know, keeping it from being overgrown and not doing additional damage to the trailer or something like that. You know, I will definitely send an email to Steve and Jack after this meeting. I mean, because I really don't want to, neither of them are, their terms are. So they need to get this consultation done. Or we will be in this situation again at a point too. So I will bug them about making sure they make that a priority.
Sorry, I've forgotten that part of it. I guess my first thought is it would be very useful if at the 24th meeting of the city council, since we know that we only have 2 candidates for 2 openings, that essentially they know who the council will be in November. So I'm wondering, Eli, I'm just throwing this out there, that at that point, assuming that very little progress will be made with the 2 currently appointed council members for the government to government consultations, that the city council readdress that issue and come up with a new plan. Am I making myself clear?
When you say readdress the issue.
Well, okay. Bottom line is that Steve and Jack will not be on the city council come November. And that only gives them literally a month.
Come January.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you're right, January, okay. But still, question motivation.
With the
Sure.
G to G meeting with the Churai and the Yurok tribe is intended to be basically one meeting. I mean, if they offer another one, fine, but usually our consultations are just one meeting. And then the intent is for the two council members to bring back whatever they are able to ascertain back to the whole council in closed session so that the whole council could talk about it.
So then let's, I guess I misunderstood. You're saying that the government to government meeting will occur on the 24th?
No, what I'm saying is the two members of the council, Steve and Jack, when they do meet with the Churai and the Yurok tribe, generally it's usually one meeting. Then after that meeting, then they will come back to a future council meeting, which would probably be October or November. And they'll report to the council. And at that point, then their job was done.
I would point out, I guess I see a flaw in that. And but then what about the discussions of the trail? How do they participate in the discussions of the long-term decision on the trail? Because if they were the ones who participate in the government meetings, they're the ones who understand the cultural impacts, and then they're gone. And then
that's why they would then share it with the council. But the main reason for it is to find out, is there a path forward? And that's what they're going to try to ascertain, at least input regarding, is there a path forward and what would that path be? Meaning in the existing trail or upslope or whatever. So hopefully we'll find some daylight. They'll say, yes, we're amenable to some kind of a trail that would be open in a particular spot, meaning the existing spot or upslope.
And then just to clarify in my mind, are you still looking for a formal request from the Rancheria for government to government consultation on this?
No, it's on the agenda.
Then I'm confused. What's on the agenda?
Yeah, so what we do is when we put it on the agenda, the council picks two people to represent the council at the G2G with the Rancheria. We're avoiding the issue with the Brown Act where you have a standing committee.
Yes, I understand.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, and I now appreciate a separate meeting. Okay, thank you.
Right.
All right. Let's see, where were we? Public comment. I don't know, we brought it back from public.
I mean, it seems like we're really getting into the weeds of city council politics. Are we still in vote?
His hand is still up. We're back up.
Mr. Stewart, is your hand still up?
Chairman, I just wanted to respond if possible, and I realize that I've had one comment, but with regard to city manager's comments, and some of the discussion, I just wanted to make sure that the city council will be appointing two city council members to meet with the Trinidad Rancheria and the government to government relations, and that will, for consultation, and that will include, among other things, the discussion of the Van Wyck trail and the alternatives, and the discussion of the alternatives and possibly moving the trail somewhere else is in part why the Trinidad Rancheria is interested in requesting the consultation. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Coming back out of public comment, again, back to the commissioners. Further thoughts?
It remains clear to me, I mean, following this conversation has gone, reference of cultural resources discussed in GG meetings, coastal commission opinions on the matter, insurers. There's obviously a lot of parties involved, and man, it feels like the city council is a better body to have discussions when there's that many entities involved. And I really, truly feel uncomfortable making any decision without an understanding of everybody's concerns. I don't think it's going to happen in 3 months or even 6 months. I will say that, unlike with the ALMT, while it does seem likely or even certain that there's cultural resources in this vicinity, they probably, in my very limited understanding, are not under immediate threat. So I don't necessarily feel the pressure to keep the trail closed to prevent damage or theft of those resources. At the same time, there's the whole insurance thing, which is totally out of our hands, and I'm not even sure that's something appropriate for us to be considering, right? So I guess it all comes down to a discussion we've had a bunch of times before, which is, what are the consequences of our vote tonight? If we abstain, I mean, can we what the consequences? Can we take no action on the item? That's historically been presented as something we could do, but I don't see it in your list of stuff. Maybe because
you would need to. You could take an action to continue it to a future meeting if you need more information. So then list information, but you can't just decide not to take action.
I think we had that discussion with the Axel Lindgren trail as well. I think we agreed that we had to make a decision one way or the other.
And to be blunt, I'm not quite certain yet, but I envision possibly abstaining myself. And what happens if everybody abstains? We just keep taking votes until something happens, Like what's the direction of this meeting?
Now have you heard, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, Bryce, very quickly. We'll open it back up for public comment.
In my opinion, any commissioner can abstain from a vote for any reason they want. You don't have to state a reason for abstaining, simply abstain. And procedural ramifications are that, or what they are. You need 3 votes to pass a motion. One person abstains from the vote, there's not a majority in favor of the motion fails.
Well, I'll take issue with that because we do have a majority. So it would be if one commissioner abstained and it was unanimous for the other 2, one way or the other, that's a decision.
Excuse me, I misspoke on that point.
Okay, I understand. Just wanted to clarify that.
My point is that you don't need permission to abstain.
Got
No,
it.
I understand, and
There should be a good reason, of course, but it's a procedural, it's, part of the fabric of our democratic process.
Thank you for the clarification.
if I might respond, I was not looking for permission to abstain. I was seeking sort of information about the implications of a potential abstention. So.
Got it. Thank you.
I mean, I know we have procedures if, every commissioner has if a majority of the commission has a conflict of interest, there are procedures. In terms of if every commissioner wants to abstain, I don't know if it automatically goes to the city council or what.
I am just where I'm at right at this point. I kind of feel about deleting subparagraph 1. And basically say that the CDP will expire after 6 months. And It's my understanding that if the CDP expires, then we would have to have another CDP.
That's correct.
So rather than extend this forever, I'm just suggesting this. You can just can decide whether that makes sense. It's just extended for 6 months, end of story. And if we have to go further, it's a new CDP, and we'll have to go and provide the new set of information that would give us a determination of whether or not we accept or not accept but it doesn't give us this out here that if there are substantial progress that has been made, that we're obligated to continue, because substantial progress is in the eye of the beholder. Who knows what that means at this point?
Well, we should probably talk about it, right? I mean, it's,
Well, that's why I just wanted to take it out.
Yeah.
I'm willing to listen.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, first of all, as you know, I will be retiring soon. But I think that this gives an incentive for, whoever is in my place, in addition to the council and staff, to try to find some funding and or explore repair and access alternatives. I mean, that's the whole purpose of our discussion today is you want something to happen. And I think having it in there, because it's saying unless an extension is granted based upon the need for the funding and exploring the repair and access alternatives. So, I mean, it'll still come back to you, but at that point, you basically have given the message like, this is it unless you guys do something between now and when the 6 months expire.
I understand that, but that's been the condition this entire time. And so here we are. And that if you take that, I guess if I take that condition to be serious, then it's impossible for me to grant another extension, right? Because we don't have we don't have good alternatives or repair options. There's nothing on the table. We haven't even had a meeting, the government meeting yet. And so that alone sort of, as Richard said, it's in the eye of the beholder. Some people would argue that maybe there has been substantial progress made, but it's pretty easy for me to argue that there's not. And
well, the net result, is we haven't been able to obtain any real commitment, but there's been a lot of work trying to work with the individual parties. But at this point, the council says, okay, we have alternatives. One alternative is to find a way to open it. The other alternative is to follow what the Coastal Commission had said, is that if you can't reopen it, then to permanently close it. So the council is mostly trying to do what maybe could be phrased as like a last ditch effort. Okay, what can we do to get this thing open? And that's why I'm hoping that there's some option between the existing path of the trail and the upslope path where maybe some distinction could be made by the native community saying, if you do it this way, it could be acceptable. So we felt like we were making some inroad, and then we felt like we weren't. And we're trying to push it to the point of, okay, let's figure this out. And can we find a solution? Because I know that, the public would like to see it open, and I like to see it open, mainly because it does offer a nice view. And it would be nice to have the public be able to experience that. But on the other hand, with the insurance issue, we have to somehow navigate the public through there freely, safely. And if we can't get them through there safely, then we're not going to be insured, and that's not going to be beneficial for the city. And the insurance is tied to the fact of making an improvement that could make it safe. They're fine with insuring us if we can go ahead and find a safe path through there. But they feel that it's an unsafe path right now.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Any other thoughts?
I mean, as this discussion has gone on, I'm, I guess, moving closer to your initial thought of just denying it. And someone wants to appeal it to the city council, they can do that or not, but I think it's, again, it's important for everyone, city council and anyone who might attend the city council meeting to should this be appealed, to hear our frustration with the situation and the residents' frustration with the situation. I think it's easy for the city council to not bring this top of mind, even if, you know, it's sort of agendized in a sort of side agenda manner, having it an actual making it an action item, excuse me, should someone appeal it, you know, forces them to think about it. And, you know, if this happens again in 6 months and it comes to us again in 6 months and we deny it again in 6 months, and it just keeps happening, then hopefully they'll get a little frustrated too.
Good ones. Good ones.
And Richard, regarding your suggestion that we delete that subparagraph, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of 6 months ago, Chris, and remember that we were especially frustrated then too, right? And that paragraph is really something that we collectively decided must be in this project, in this closure, if we were to approve that closure then. And so I'm very reluctant now to remove what we envisioned as our only teeth at that time. And I think that, you know, we did give ourselves an out. We said that if substantial progress has been made, we can extend it. And again, I agree with you that that's something I have to be over. I don't dispute that there has been communication among interested parties, but there's been no plan presented. I'm sure there's a concept of a plan, right? Like it's, yeah, left basically empty handed. We've got some communications from the KS, which I think is helpful and insightful and gives me reason for optimism. But we have little else beyond that.
Yeah, it goes back to what your comment was, is let's define what progress is. Yeah, I appreciate that.
John, make a motion.
Certainly.
Based on application materials and information included in this staff report and based on public testimony, I find the project is inconsistent with the city's certified LCP and other applicable regulations, and I move to deny the project as described in the staff report.
Are you okay? All right, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Is that procedurally okay? I mean, I will second it if as far as the tangled web of appeals versus whatever, like I will second it if it's.
You can second it and still not vote for it.
Yeah, I guess I'm sorry, a poor job of verbalizing this. I mean, is in essence the motion to reject the project, to just, I don't sort of immediately close the trail, not to extend it. I mean, is there sort of a tangled web of verbiage there that we need to worry about?
No, I think it's pretty clear. Denying it would be not approving the extension of the closure. So then the closure would expire on October 22nd or whatever that day is. And we will follow the same process as with Axel Lindgren Trail and ask the city council hear themselves.
Okay. I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor to approve the motion to not extend the CDP? Say aye.
I,
Those opposed? No. So 2-1, the motion passes as modified. Okay, thank you all for that discussion. Appreciate it. And thank you, staff, for all the insight.
Yeah, for a moment, Richard, with the ALMT, I believe we had to provide some justification for denial. Is that true here as well? And,
Yes, ideally.
It's been 5 years.
I think your justification is that it's not, there hasn't been substantial progress. That's what I.
yeah,
and I mean, going back to, again, be consistent with previous decisions of mine, there's been no maintenance either. So I don't think it's consistent with policy 64.
Very good discussion. Thank you. Okay. Are we ready to move on to item 3? Okay. Item 3, monthly update on the Axel Lindgren Memorial Trail closure and progress to date for the open trail.
Which years? Oh, yeah, so last month, the planning commission approved the CDP for vegetation removal along the new proposed alignment. However, prior to that, the city needs to conduct consultation with the Rancheria and get the Rancheria's approval per policy 69. So as we discussed, the next week's council meeting, they will be appointing 2 city council members to conduct that consultation. In the meantime, city staff have been in contact with RCAA and Ancestral Society. The Ancestral Society obviously wants to be on site while work occurs. And the city's working on a contract with RCAA so that we can be ready to move forward once we get Rancheria's approval.
Any questions, comments, clarifications from the commissioners?
I do have a, I think, quick question. The letter that you sent to the State Historic Preservation Officer outlined exclusively removal of the vegetation along the proposed new route.
Yes.
Okay.
I think trimming vegetation hasn't ever been something subject to policy 69, where this is actual removal down to the ground of it. It's a little different than like the upper, cutting back the blackberries on the upper part or something like
Yeah,
that.
right. So
Yeah.
vegetation removal is usually either at the ground or below ground. If that's, I mean, I don't want to get into it. There's nothing necessarily including, there's nothing.
well, at least in our local. What ordinance is that? Where vegetation removal is defined?
I think it is,
includes the roots.
yes, I believe it is defined in the use of vegetation plans.
We expressed this concern during a previous meeting and just wanted to clarify that there's nothing at the moment stopping the city from trimming back blackberries, or should any city employee deem it necessary removal of like overhanging branches or thistles or conditions that are preventing.
And I would suggest that it will need to be trimmed in order to get access. So
Other questions, comments for staff? Okay, then I'll open it up for public comment. Any public comment either here or online? Okay, I'm not. Oops. Am I?
Yes.
You're on mute, Mr. Seward, excuse me.
Oh, thank you. No, sorry about that. I'll be short here. My understanding then is that there is consultation, government to government consultation that's planned for this item with the Trinidad Rancheria, and that the city council will be selecting 2 city council members to meet with the Trinidad Rancheria. Is that is a date been set for that consultation? I heard the 24th, and I didn't know what that was a reference to, if that's when the consultation is scheduled for.
I'll let our city manager answer that question.
Yeah, the 24th is next Tuesday. That's a council meeting. And at that point, the council will choose 2 council members to represent the city at the G2G. And then after that, we would coordinate a date with the rancheria.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the commissioners. Any other questions, comments? Just for clarification, it's in your staff report, but I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that our original decision to reject the CDP will be appealed to the Coastal Commission, and they expect to see that in November.
Oh, yes, thank you. And I'm, is the Ancestral Society going to be presenting GHD's report next week? The city council? That myself.
Yeah, I've sent an email, and then they asked more questions, and then I sent another email today telling them, we need to know if you're going to do it. I says, you either can do it the 24th or the 8th are my suggestions. So we'll find it. But yes, I haven't gotten a definitive answer yet.
And yes, so the city councils reversed the planning commission's denial, and that was appealed to the Coastal Commission. I have transmitted the local record to them, and they hope to consider that at the November meeting. Now, how their process works, you're probably aware, but their first action is just to consider whether the appeal has merit, basically. So does the appeal raise substantial issue? So that will be what they would be deciding on. And then if it does, if they find that it does, then they will have a full hearing on the project at a later time.
Where's the November meeting? Somewhere up here, I assume.
Usually they have a North Coast meeting in September. So yeah, probably it's not around here, but they, everything's virtual as well. And they have a process by which you do have to, if you want to speak, you have to sign up ahead of time. But things are, I think instructions are pretty clear on the website.
My desire in bringing that up, or my reason for bringing it up, is just wanted to clarify that this does not slow up anything that the council is doing. In other words, I hope nobody is waiting for a hearing at the Coastal Commission level. Is that my understanding?
That's correct. So that is separate from the vegetation removal permit. Hold up the vegetation.
Good, thank you.
And I will also mention that I included I believe all the commissioners as speakers during the hearings, so as interested parties, so you should all be getting notices.
Okay.
I have one last question, which is, in the conversations with RCAA and others, has there been discussion of getting down to the beach from the bluff? There's talking past meetings. Various options, and just wondering if that specific topic has been discussed at all.
I'm not aware, but I think it would basically be the same, because we did, in April or May, they met with city staff and Public Works went and trimmed the trail so that they could get down and take a look at it in order to provide that estimate of the work they were going to do. So we have done that, and I assume it will be the same.
So the city engineer from GHD, Steve Allen, who will more than likely be in designing whatever the access will be from the new trail to the beach. He said that once the vegetation is removed, he wanted to be able to see what the path looks like at that point, and then come up with some kind of a plan. And also the Shoreline Ancestral Society is very interested in being, and this is something that they echo quite often, being involved in the planning, rather than they don't like it when someone comes up and says, this is the plan, what do you think of? They want to be involved in the planning. So the intent is we want to keep them involved so that we can continue to make some progress, rather than having them feel like they've been ignored.
Actually, Eli, if I may ask Eli one quick question. The fencing along the beach never went up this summer. Is that true? Last summer, as a result of one of our decisions, protected fencing went up from roughly Memorial Day to Labor Day. It was removed and it didn't go back up.
Yeah, it didn't go back up. Steve Allen and myself were down there, and we also had a third person from GHD present, and looked at everything, and it seemed, as far as the concerned areas, do not appear, at least some vegetation is growing in and everything. So it's not the same issue that existed before. The other thing is in the summer, actually, because vegetation grows, it starts covering things up. Part of the concern was before the vegetation starts. But yeah, in the analysis from GHD, they felt that it looked fairly good, and therefore did not really need the fencing this year.
Is it running afoul of anything that we cited here? City manager has the discretion to install or not.
I think the main thing, at least from my understanding, you were concerned about having it removed by a certain period of time.
Sure.
I will say that I, for the first time, went to the skywalk at the zoo last weekend. And that would be really cool.
It's kind of what's proposed for the trail.
It would really be cool. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, moving on to commission reports. Anything from the commissioners to report? Okay, anything from staff to report?
So I've kind of got through the backlog of applications. There's only one pending, and I don't know if they're going to move forward, so that's nice. Although I am expecting an application for 5 units on the parcel just east of Hidden Creek. So that'll be the biggest development in Trinidad in a long time. There's a number of limitations on that lot. they're working on the document background. That'll come up at some point this winter, I expect. Otherwise, I'm working on the LCP update and
With respect to future agenda items, we still have our current list and we did put, oh, it was back in July. I didn't realize Atlantic acknowledgement was that far back, but yes. Any comments or questions on that or any additions? Okay, hearing none then, I don't think there's any other business here tonight, so we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
just, I guess, add a few more details to my reports. I did submit the ADU ordinance to HCD, so the agency that reports those. And wrote up some justification for where it deviates from state law. And working on the safety element, so hopefully you'll see that in the next few months. So just a couple of specifics on that.
Thanks, Trevor. Thanks, everyone.